Hello, everybody. Welcome to this month's Deal Clinic Live April. So I'd like to welcome our presenters that we have with us today. We have Sheena Almus from Wsm Investments Limited, and we have our other sourcing agent, Chris Wills, from Wsm Developments Limited. And we're also joined by one of our preferred chartered surveyors, Thomas Mooney of Coseyhomes. So today we'll be going through just a few deals. If you have any questions at all, please do interact. Feel free to drop those comments or questions into the comment box even, or the Q&A. And I'll be checking those on a regular basis and directing them to the most appropriate person. So any investors that join us here live today, please use the hashtag DCL, which represents Deal Clinic Live. And if you're joining us for the replay and you have any questions, please email them to admin@sourcinginvestments.co.uk and use the hashtag DCL replay. For the rest of you, there will be snippets going out to our social media platforms such as Facebook and YouTube. And if you have registered for the live and can't make it, you'll receive a full recording to watch at your convenience. So as I said, I do encourage interaction because it does help to build trust, and it also allows you to see the full visibility of what's going on with the deal that's being presented. So again, any questions, feel free to drop those comments there. If you do wish to register to the platform, please go to sourcinginvestments.co.uk/investor-registration. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Sheena Almus, who is one of our UK sourcing agents here and property management company. Now, their company covers Sheffield, Stoke-on-Trent, Nottingham, with a major focus currently on Mansfield. And they work with various strategies such as buy-to-let, multi-let, HMO, serviced accommodation, and any other strategies upon your requests. So without further ado, bear with me while I cope with this tech. I am actually going to do a short video and share you Sheena's video bio. Okay, bear with me.
Hi everyone, my name is Sheena Almas. I'm an investor and sourcing agent. I'm the director of Wsm Investments Limited, and we help people finding their dream projects. Wsm Investments source deals as per the client's requirements on personal level. Because we are not investment company, we are people company. The areas we cover in UK are Mansfield, Nottingham, Stoke-on-Trent, Liverpool, and Leicester. But we are not limited to these areas. We can expand our areas and tailor deals as per the client's interest. Our current strategies are flip, buy-to-let, HMOs, and rent-to-rent.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for that. Sheena, I'd love to hand over to you if that's okay.
Let me just share my screen. Sorry, let me just put that back. Hello, everyone. My name is Sheena. I'm director of Wsm Investments. We are investors and sourcing agents. Currently, we are covering Mansfield, Nottingham, Leicester, Stoke-on-Trent, Sheffield, and Liverpool. And as you have seen in my video bio as well, this is my current project. And this is a 3-bed mid-terrace house in UK. I bought this house last year in June for £133,000. And last year in June, I also got it evaluated as well, and it came to 134,000. Its asking price was 135,000. I purchased it after negotiation. It was 133,000. The refurb cost
was not much in this house, but it just costed £2,000. Solicitor fees, £1,000 again. And then stamp duty was zero, luckily due to stamp duty holiday due to pandemic. And then the market value, when I got evaluated after refurb in March 2022, it came to £150,000. The potential to go is still up to 170,000 because you can still do a lot of work in this property. Currently, it's on rent to a family, and this gives around £700 per month. The ROI in flip is 10.29%, and the yield is 6.3% at the moment. And if we go further, these are some pictures of before and after. This is the living room of the house. We have not done much in this property because it was very good condition, very solid building. So all we did is redecorated the house, painted wherever needed, some touch-ups, some new curtains, cleaned the house, or deep cleaning with my power team, and there you go. You got £700 straight away, and it still have a lot of potential in terms of getting it big. My future plans with this property is maybe after some time I'm looking to flip it once it got more juicier. And right now, but it's still giving me some cash flow, so well, I don't mind that. And then next we can come to our strategies. The strategies that will work in Mansfield right now is HMO, flip, and buy-to-let. The reason behind all these, really, which I'll come to the area specific as well. So HMO in Mansfield generally works is because the council have given us permission to convert the houses into multi-lets, and you can create a HMO in a house without license up to 4 bedrooms, and over 4 bedrooms, I think it's like 5 years or so. For 5 years, you just have to pay a fee per room, and for 5 years, you get a license. And buy-to-let is a very good strategy as well in Mansfield, if I come back to this page, in case I don't miss out something. So buy-to-let is a very good strategy as well because it's a developing area. Everything is developing here. There are new house builds. So families like to move in here much quicker before they are getting the possession of their new builds or the new houses because of the schools around. So families like to get the admission for their children. So in case when they don't have to move around schools that much once they get possession of their new homes. And then again, we have flip. So flip, I would highly recommend in Mansfield right now because the buildings are so strong. They are so like 100 years old buildings in here. And when you redecorate it in, you just get so much high potential property with such a good value. And because of the development, on the same street, you are getting good value over that property and good ROIs. And let's see, with the best areas to invest in Mansfield. So NG17 for HMO is a very good area because of the Amazon Fulfillment Center, which is EMA2. This area is also known as Sutton Ashfield, and this is a very good area to have your HMO in because it's such a big fulfillment center in Amazon, and Amazon is moving their employees all over the country to this area to have the employees accommodated on the higher levels, and we have level 1 employees as well coming in. And they want, a cheaper budget house nearby they can walk. So I would highly recommend HMO if you are looking for one in this area. And then we have NG19, and this area is very good for HMO and buy-to-let because of the Kingsmill Hospital just close by in this area. And this hospital is a very old and well-known hospital in whole of Nottingham. And it's like a mall, really. And with so much doctors, nurses, and ambulance staff, you are looking for families to move in here and looking for housing and, you know, getting finding an accommodation. And then we have NG20, which is for flip and buy-to-let. And then we have NG21, which is again for flip and buy-to-let as well, because this area is more developing area. You have very much new developments, and we have a Berry Hill, a whole new area is building out. It's like a whole city, and it's going to be like next Beverly Hills, you know, just like in LA. So it's named as Berry Hills, is somewhat in the name, and the plans are really good. And this have so much high potential in going up in value in next year. I would say next year, because in 6 months, if I can get so much profit of £30,000, well, I think anybody can. And any questions?
Yes, we haven't got any questions come through yet from our investors at the moment, but I have a question, if you don't mind, Sheena. With regards to the HMOs, I know that we can't obviously give any investment advice, but potentially what are the ROIs that you could get, or the yields that you could actually obtain within Mansfield areas, as an example, whether it be a buy-to-let or an HMO? What kind of yields are they looking for or looking at potentially if they were to invest in this location?
So in Mansfield, I have, if you see my landing page, and if you go for, you know, my portal, and you will see all my postings there, and I have mentioned there a yield for 35% and sometimes 45% as well, because there are so many juicy deals, and the potential ROI is 10 to 20% in HMOs here, even service accommodation, because it's such a old, you know, city, and it was like a hidden gem, I would say. When I came to this area and I found out about this area, I was like, where was it? It's been so long. And when I found it, it's so much potential here, and it's just, you just need to really go for it. And, you know, to be very honest, just trust me and trust your sourcing agent, trust your guts, I would say.
So when you talk about Mansfield as an example, are you going to walk us through a current deal that you have at the moment?
Yes.
On your landing page? Okay, perfect. I'd love to see one of those, please, if you don't mind. I like the fact that you mentioned that Amazon and the hospital are quite key locations, and that I'm presuming that would that means that there's quite high demand for rentals in those areas.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, I'll just stop my screen share right now.
Okay.
Because I just want to go my screen
onto your landing page.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Give me a second, so that, you know, I can just show you what I'm talking about. Sorry, it's just so many things going on.
No, that's fine. That's fine. While you're finding the stop share button, Thomas, do you have anything that you would be able to share with regards to surveys when they come to purchasing either a buy-to-let or a HMO? So just for our investors, so that they know, Thomas, just to remind them, Thomas is one of our surveyors, from our chartered surveyors from our preferred companies, Coseyhomes. They're actually part of our power team within the platform. And yeah, Thomas, is there any advice that you could give them with regards to the differences maybe between a buy-to-let and a HMO when it comes to surveys?
Well, it depends on the property as we survey it. If the property is already HMO, already being used as HMO, already has its HMO license, then we would always do a structural survey. It's a little bit of a myth, but not necessarily a myth, but a tale that you can have a home buyers report on, which is a level 2 home buyers report, which a lot of investors do opt for. On a HMO, we only complete level 3 building surveys. All of our surveys are RICS, by the way. I just don't want to say RICS 1,000 times. But yes, the level 3 building survey is what is recommended if the property is already a HMO. It's the only one that covers building regulations, and the regulations that are obviously required for a HMO to be, you know, qualified and classed and obtained its HMO license. If it's just, you know, a standard property, it's being sold by a vendor who's been living in it. There are a couple of aspects that we look at, but the future plans for the property, whether it's going to be flipped, whether it's going to be buy-to-let, doesn't really have too much of an impact on what type of survey you know, you should be having. We can do pre-development valuations and stuff, and that's a little bit going a little bit more complex, but we can do pre-development valuations with, given that, you know, plans and everything are already written up, and you know, we can have a look at those. But yeah, just going back to the original question, we have to inspect and value the property as it is on the day of inspection. So if it isn't yet a HMO, it's just a standard property. For example, the one that Sheena just showed us in Mansfield, I think it was about the 60s, 70s, or maybe an ex-council house, can't remember. So for that one, even if Sheena was to turn into a HMO, for example, we'd still only recommend a level 2 home buyers, because at the moment in time when we inspect it, that's going to be the most suitable survey.
Perfect. Thank you for that. For the investors that were watching live and those that were watching the replay, could you just give a gist of the difference between what, for argument's sake, if they've just joined the industry, they're new to investing, what's the difference between level 1, 2, and 3?
To be honest, level 1 reports, we hardly ever do. I honestly could not tell you the last time I took an instruction on a level 1 report, because there's quite a discrepancy, there's quite a difference, if you like, between a level 1 and a level 2 report. Main one being a property valuation, a reinstatement figure, and remedial advice. The level 1 report is you get a lot less detail, you don't get any valuation, you don't get a market valuation, you don't get a reinstatement figure, whereas a level 2 you do. And then the price difference between the two reports, let's say, for example, a level 2 report was £500. We'd be looking about £475 for the level 1. So it's just not worth it. We just stick to level 2 and level 3 building surveys. Your level 2, as I've sort of just mentioned, you get a little bit of remedial advice. It's a full condition report internally and externally. Market valuation included, reinstatement figure included. And then your level 3, that's your full structural. That's the one that offers. It also obviously offers remedial advice. You get recommendations and estimated costs for any work required on the property. It covers building regulations, structural integrity, that kind of thing. We recommend that for the older, more mature properties, or properties with structural modification. If they've been extended, converting lofts, garages, knocking walls through, that kind of thing, we recommend that level 3.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for that. That gives me a lot more clarity, and I'm sure the investors appreciate that too. When you say about the older the property, would that, Sheena mentioned that those properties in Mansfield are 100 years old. Would that fall into that criteria, that category of it being an older, or are we talking more than 100?
No, 100 years old. I advise about 70, so anything pre-1950s really. So anything built in the 40s, 30s, and obviously before, then we recommend going for the level 3 building survey. I mean, you think 1940s was obviously the Second World War. That just puts into context how old these properties are. I think when you see the houses, the type of houses we've seen on Peaky Blinders, and that was based in, you know, was that the 1925? I think that was based in. So, to have just a condition report on a property of that age, to me, is just ludicrous. It needs, you know, we need to be providing, you know, that extra remedial advice for any work that is required. Them estimated costs could be priceless. And again, the structural reports, the amount of chimneys that have been removed over the years, chimney breasts that have been removed without support and things like that we find in old, like, Victorian terrace houses, then it's always got to be a level 3 building survey, in my opinion.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. I think that's crucial, actually, that you mentioned about chimneys. There are developers out there, aren't there, that are literally, and I know this from working with a few, especially in London, to create more space within the homes, they're actually removing chimneys to give that. So it's important that that's done correctly. Okay, perfect. All right, Sheena, thank you for that, Thomas. I really appreciate that. Sheena, if I hand back to you, are you ready to present your landing page? Perfect, thank you.
So I'll go here. and I'll show you the property. I'm just showing you. So I have like 2-3 properties more in here. So, but this property is a very juicy one. This is, you know, from 5 years I'm in this property investment, and it was the first time. Luckily, I got to see this property. It's a repossession property. And this is right now on the market for 95,000, but already this property had an offer. So I gave the offer of 96,000, and right now it's stuck. And the fair market value of this property right now is 115. If you see the gross yield on this is 20.4%, and the ROI illustrative is 55.28%, because the plans with this property is a HMO. It's a very smooth HMO, and you can see it's in NG19, the perfect area for HMO and buy-to-let. And you can see the condition, how old it is. So, and this property have a story, and I love the properties with the stories, to be honest, because of the things and the, you know, the refurb you can do with this property. So this property's owner is in foreign right now, and the bank repossessed the property. There was tenants 2 years ago, and this property is empty since last 2 years. You can see the crack here, but surprisingly, this crack is not that deep. You can still repair it with a little bit of plaster and paint. But yes, this property needs a lot of work. If you can see this and the, you know, the brokerage here, this is the front porch, and this needs a lot of work. But once it's refurbed, it's amazing. This property have potential to turn into 4 beds, and, you know, with modernizing everything, you can get a rent of 500 from each room. So you're looking around £1,200, 1,200 to 1,300, I would say, pounds per month rent from this property. And this is lovely. This is very close to me. But let me just move on and show you some more, just to give you an idea what yields you can get. So yes, so this is another property I have, and this property have tenants in place. So you can see this property's return is 10.54%, and gross yield is 6.27%. This is less due to just being a buy-to-let, and the seller is insisting us to keep the tenants in place. And before this, I think it's not on my portal anymore, because that's gone off the market, and that had it was a buy-to-let property again, and that had 35% of yield. So, and while we are speaking, my team is already working on getting a deal of already done up HMO, and we are trying to get that deal done as well for one of my investors. So again, it's just, you can contact me from my landing page and let me know what are you actually looking for, and I can find you that deal.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Sheena. With regards to the first deal that you went through, yeah. Yes, I believe it's that one. How much would the refurb on that property cost? If you can just guide the investors through that, I think that'd be really good.
Yeah, so with the refurb, with current inflation and everything, because I had limit of putting the, you know, all the pictures in this portal, just so I don't want to bombard, but I have put the refurb. We have to do like changing the door, because it's a very old door. We have to change the locks, putting the, you can say there are 2 lounge on the ground floor. We can convert one of them as a bedroom. So we might need to put a door and a wall there, just for the privacy. And some putting new doors in every room with locks for privacy. And altogether, it would be around £22,000 roughly on this property. That's the refurb cost right now. And that's why the projected flip is coming a little less. But once it's done, and you can get a high cash flow. So that's why I say this property is a high cash flow property. It's not a flip property at all. But with the works done, it can go really high in a couple of years, yes.
Okay, and this is where potentially it could rent out each room for approximately £500. Yes. So when you're paying 22 on the refurb, and you're literally your gross income is going to be approximately £2,000 a month, then obviously it's like a healthy cash machine, is what you're saying.
Yes, that's correct.
Right. Okay. All right. So it'd take them 10 months to get the refurb money back potentially.
Yes.
Okay. Brilliant. Is there anything else to highlight with regards to this property, with potential tenants who would work well for this strategy?
So the potential clients, or you can say the tenants, our market, when we are focusing is, again, the Amazon employees and the nurses, the doctors, NHS staff, and also the families as well. If with the 4 beds, if you're not looking to take that much of hassle and you're want to do a buy-to-let to a big family, you can do that as well with this one by just refurbing it. And the rent from this one is, because everything is modernized, it would be around 800 easily pounds a month for a family. But yes, I'm not trying to recommend an investment, but as an investor myself, I would always say that it's a HMO property, and with the increasing rents, you can again see a lot of there. Also, there are students, and there is some colleges nearby as well, which can help you to have some students in this property as well, which can potentially save you a TV license, I would say, cost. But again, with the student, because they will be very young students, around 16 to 18 years, it's a little risk. But again, it's a market, so go crazy. You can go crazy with this market.
Okay, perfect. So it depends on which strategy or end strategy the client wants to look at. The investor could either have it as a simple buy-to-let, where they could let it out to a family for approximately £800 a month, or turn it into a HMO. Obviously, there'll be a little bit more work, because we'd have to look at fire doors and those kind of regulations, but that would generate 2,000. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Thomas, I'd like to bring you in on this. Is there anything else you'd like to mention with regards to surveys when a HMO is in place, as an example? So it's already a HMO, but it may need updating with regards to the intricacies around that.
Yeah, obviously the most obvious ones, the most obvious points we pick up on in a HMO is maybe like fire doors and room size and those types of regulations. I mean, they're the fairly obvious ones, and you'd like to think that, we don't come across them very often. And then it's more along the lines then of the defects that we find as well. Obviously, they need to be to a certain condition. They need to have a certain energy performance, which we don't actually provide. We don't do the EPCs. Just wanted to clear that up. We get asked to provide an EPC quite a lot, but that isn't something that a building surveyor does. But a lot of the time, a selling agent can organise an EPC for you pretty easily for the vendor. But yeah, just going back to your question, obviously you'd like them to be in a good condition. If people are going to be paying, £500 for a room, it needs to be in really good condition. They don't need to be living with damp. We need to have the fire safety doors in place, and the windows need to have fire escapes and that kind of thing. But we don't want cracks, we don't want damp. If there were any cracks, I see one in one of the photographs there from Sheena. So, we'd comment on what, how severe it is, what's causing it, what needs to be done to rectify the issue. And as I mentioned earlier, how much it's potentially going to cost you to rectify as well. Obviously, Sheena and her colleagues are very good in providing, an estimated cost for a refurb, but then the extra sort of level of detail from a building surveyor, you know, it could match up, but then there could be something in there that, you know, maybe wasn't considered or wasn't noticed, or, you know, for initially.
I think that's really important that you mentioned that, because I think sometimes we all think, oh, I could just do without that. It's just X amount of money. I could just save on that. But I think if you could highlight to the investors, what's the worst that you've ever come across where they may have not had a survey done initially, and then things have been found out later on later down the journey, and it's cost them a lot more money had they actually had the survey in place in the first place?
We don't really hear, if somebody chooses not to have a survey, they never get in touch with us. We don't even know. You know, we can have conversations, and I do have, you know, I do have potential clients and coming back to me saying, you know what, we're just going to leave it. We're going to go basically against our advice, go and purchase the property without having a survey done, and we don't really hear back from them. Sometimes 6 months later, we might quote then somebody else on that same property, and nothing's been done to it because they've realised that's hang on. And then, you know, the second person gets a survey. Sometimes what happens more often, and something I can comment on more, is somebody will get a survey on a property and everything will appear on the outside on the Rightmove photographs. It looks lovely, and then we'll go and inspect it. We'll write up a report, and the buyer will back out. And look, that's not what we want to do. We don't want to be stopping deals going ahead. We want to be, you know, helping them along, but we also, you know, we're there to protect the buyer. So from any nasty surprises. But a lot of the time we'll go out and survey a property, and then a few months later, I think I recognise that advice, and I'll have a look, and we've surveyed it 3 months ago, and that buyer's pulled out, now it's got another buyer, and then we go and do another survey and report. And sometimes, you know, the problems that we found earlier have since been rectified by the vendor, and rightly so. But yeah, with regards to people losing out, I couldn't give you any specific examples, because if they're going to go and tell anybody, we're the last people are going to go and tell, because it's like, we told you so.
That makes sense, actually. That makes sense. So with regards to turnaround of reports, how quickly can those, I guess it depends on whether it's level 2 or level 3, right? But how quickly could you turn a survey around from the time the client instructs you to the point when they receive the report?
It depends on the area. It depends on where about the property is in the country. Its area and how many surveyors we have at our disposal, and the availability that we have. Let's say, for example, Liverpool, we probably between 7 to 14 days we'll be in the property. We'll do an inspection within 7 to 14 days of instruction. You instructed us, say, today in Liverpool. I think we lose a couple of days with the Easter holidays coming up, but I think we've got a couple of slots left towards the end of next week. So from there, we'd aim for a 5 to 10 work. I mean, 10 max. 10 is like commercial warehouse. Would be aiming for a 10 working day turnaround. If it was a big commercial property, for example. But if it was a standard residential property or HMO maybe 5 to 10. But buy to let, anything like that, would be aiming for a 5 working day turnaround.
Okay, that's really good to know. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for that. That's insightful. Sheena, do you have anything else that you wish to share?
Just one point, really. I forgot to add one more thing regarding that property. I just realized that it can be a service accommodation as well. So if you want to think about a service accommodation for that property too, it can be a good source as well. But yes, again, it's up to you. Whatever you want to do, you're the investor. You let us know and we find you the deal.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Sheena. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce you to Chris Wills of Wsm Developments. So Wsm Developments are UK-based developers with a focus on commercial to residential development. They actually deep dive on the Devon area, Oakhampton, I hope I say that properly, and Exeter, because they understand the nuances of this area extremely, extremely well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly play their video bio, so that you can see the quality of work that they've been able to deliver on some of their projects so far. So once again, please bear with me with the tech. Let me just share this for you. Okay, one moment. Okay, perfect. So I do enjoy those videos, I really do. Okay, so I'm now going to hand you over to Chris Wills of Wsm Developments. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Bonnie. Hi, everyone. Like she alluded to there, we're a relatively new business based in Devon, specifically Oakhampton, which is pretty much slap bang in the middle. It's myself and my good friend Ed Squire, who we sort of joined forces pretty much 2 years ago now, almost to the day actually. Because we both have a keen interest in property investing and developments. And since then, business has really took off. So I just want to spend a bit of time. I'll just show you some of the stuff we've done and a couple of bits that we've got in the pipeline. So if I can just share my screen. Okay, so let's get this one going. Can you all see that, I assume?
Yes, perfect.
Excellent. So, like I say, we're an innovative property investment company. We've both undergone a lot of intensive training because one thing we sort of wanted to make sure we know what we're talking about and we do things correctly. And if you don't do that in the property world, then it can be very expensive and you make a lot of mistakes. So myself, I've very recently undergone a property mastermind training, and I actually came out as the top performer in that particular course. So it was a nice little award to win at the end of it. That was based on a number of things as to what I started with and what I got at the end of it, and also sort of why I'm doing what I do. So there's a bit on screen there, as you can see, that's sort of goes through that. At home, I'm just your average family man. I've got 2 very young children. I like to take out on bike rides and stuff like that in the fantastic scenery that we have around us. My business partner, Eddie, unfortunately couldn't make this call today. He's actually on babysitting duties. But yeah, he's of very similar ilk. We've known each other for best part of 15 years now. He is a chartered accountant by trade, but he has very recently given that up so that he can focus his efforts fully on our business and helping scale up our development side of our business as well. So, like I say, I just want to quickly go through some an example deal of one that we've done. We've done a number of them, but this one just sort of, this is the standout one for us. So there's some sort of pictures just to give you an idea of the property, and I'll very quickly talk you through it as well. So this is an old Georgian building. It's absolutely massive. It was converted into 6 flats probably about 30 years ago, but it was done very, very poorly. And as a result, over time, things became of a very poor state of repair. And to the point where the house was repossessed by the landlady disappeared. So we were managed to get this at a very significant discount. And we've gone in there, and so far we've redeveloped 4 of the 6 flats, and the 5th one is about 3 weeks from completion. but I just put a couple of before and after pictures of the first flat that we've done there that you can see on screen, just to give you a bit of a flavour. Some of it was the works that we've done, hence the state of it, but some of it was actually how people were living in this building. So that picture you can see at the bottom right there of that sink with the collapsed wall and those two that have just appeared on screen, that's how people were living in some of the flats there. It was absolutely diabolical. And there's a few more pictures here. So this is one that we've very recently done. I think one of the pictures came up on the video bio there that Bonnie's shown. And again, this one had a lot of damp. There was a collapsed ceiling in the middle picture there. That was someone's bedroom. And again, total back to brick, redevelopment, rewire, replumb, brand new double glazing sash windows throughout, just to keep within the theme of the building. Because like I say, it's a nice old Georgian building. We didn't want to go and put cheap, nasty looking UPVC windows in there that just didn't do the building any favors. And if we go on to this one, this was the pinnacle, I suppose, of all the flats. This was the basement flat, and it had that fantastic old Arga style cooker that you can see there on the left-hand side. So we've left that in place. Doesn't work, probably hasn't worked for a long time, but we wanted to make a bit of a feature out of it rather than remove it. So we've had that completely touched up, varnished, and then given a nice finish. So it looks really, really good. And as you can see, all of the other rooms have been done to a very high standard. So that gives you a flavour of what we do and the sort of spec that we go for within all of our developments. And I'll just spend a few minutes now going through the figures on this particular deal. So this was the third one we done as a business. We follow the same sort of buy, refurbish, refinance model throughout. But you can see there that, so the purchase price was actually very small, 312,000. It was on the market for offers over 400,000, but we managed to negotiate it down because what we did was we lined up our investments very early so that we were in a position to move very quickly on this, which favoured the nature of the sale. The refurbishment works there is quite expensive, as you can see, but that was all development finance, which we've secured with our particular bridging loan on this one. But we've just had it revalued based on the spec that we've done on the 4.5 to 5 flats that are nearly finished. And the last one that's yet to be done, the GDV of this one is just going to pip the £1 million mark, which was something that we were desperately hoping to achieve. And as you can see, we've just scraped over there. So the monthly costs are based on our mortgages that we'll have on each of the flats and insurance, and we've taken into account sort of 10% worth of voids on that as well. The monthly rental income, as you can see, is on the screen there, so it's just under £5,000 per calendar month. And once we refinance the deal based on a buy-to-let mortgage on that GDV, we should pull out £105,000 500. I've rounded that down. It's slightly more than that, but I've rounded it down with a monthly cash flow of just over 3,000. Now, this is using our typical model, buy, refurbish, refinance, and we prefer the single let market because it's frankly easier to manage. And in our area in particular, the demand for this is extremely high. You'll also see I've put on the screen there that we title split this one as well. So for those that are not sure what that means, we've taken each flat, because the buildings as a whole, we've taken each flat and we're subleasing them out. We're creating another separate entity within our business, which is going to own those leases, which we then can get an individual valuation on each flat, which then increases the overall value of that building without really increasing the building itself. So that was that one. We've got another one in the pipeline, which I'll very quickly go over. So this is the sort of area we're now moving into, is commercial to residential, like Bonnie touched upon earlier on. We really think this is where a huge amount of opportunity lie within property investing as a whole, not just in our area, but across the country. So we have literally just secured an option agreement on this one, and we have the planning application going through. I think it's next week we're due to submit that, but this one's going to be converted to 5 flats. So as you can see, it's a shop at the bottom. What you can't see from those pictures is out the back is there's a workshop as well. That middle floor with the big window that you see on screen is currently office space. And then the very top window is a 2-bedroom flat. And you can probably just make out from the picture that there's two doors there, the two red doors. The one on the side gives access all the way up the stairs to the top floor and the middle floor. So it's configured very nicely at the moment to do what we want to do to it, assuming we get the planning. And some high level figures for this one. So we've secured a purchase price of 210,000. We've been told it's worth a little bit more than that already. We've been quoted circa 220,000 for the refurbishment costs. And that GDV figure of 580,000 is probably about a year old now. So based on current circumstances, the likelihood is that's gone up a little bit. Monthly costs, again, they're based on mortgages. And so what I didn't say is this is going to be converted to 5 flats, 4 one-bed flats and the existing 2-bed flat that's already up on the top floor, but which needs a significant amount of refurbishment. But you've seen from previous pictures what sort of spec that we go for. So yeah, the monthly rent is going to be 3,250 based on current market rents. We will leave a little bit of money in this deal, but quite frankly, 5,000 being left in the deal when we're making £2,080 cash flow, positive cash flow per month after all costs, we'll obviously clear that down within 3 months. And again, like I mentioned, this is a commercial to residential secured on an option. It's going to be single let flats again, very much like our previous project. And also we're going to go down the route of title split in this property to get as much uplift in value as possible. This is a deal, like I say, is currently going through. We haven't secured full funding yet for that purchase price for the simple fact that we've got an option agreement on it. What we're planning to do is once we've got the planning permission in situ, there will be a significant uplift in the value of the property just with that planning in place. Therefore, we can look to secure lending at that higher value, but would still be purchasing it for 210,000, which in theory means we'll get a much higher loan to value on our purchase price from whatever lender we decide to go with. And that's pretty much it at the moment in terms of what we've done and what we've got going on. I'm just going to end this presentation and quickly talk about another one we've got in the pipeline. So again, this is following the model of commercial to residential, which is the wave we're trying to ride now. This particular one, it's quite difficult to see from the plans, but it's currently a garage with a mechanical workshop out the back. And it's the mechanical workshop area that's got planning or had planning permission to be converted to 10 flats. That planning has actually lapsed. However, we've been in advanced talks now with the vendor to try and secure a purchase price for this one because he's keen to offload it. And once we can negotiate a price, we can then go back to the planners to try and resubmit the planning application. And again, with that planning in place, we should get a significant uplift in value so we can get preferred lending, essentially. And I'll just quickly scroll down this to just give you a few more sort of pictures about what the place could look like. Unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of what it looks like at the moment, but these are the plans that were granted a few years ago, but has now lapsed. But we have had informal chats with the local planning office, and they have suggested that we shouldn't get any problems resubmitting these exact same plans and getting them agreed if we can get the deal over the line. And that's about it from me, really.
That's brilliant. I just find those also fascinating, Chris. Thank you so much for that. You actually answered a couple of my own questions because I was like, oh, how many flats are you going to convert the offices to? So thank you for clarifying. So that it'll be interesting to see actually when you get the reevaluation, because as you mentioned, the GDV valuation on that project, the one with the shop at the bottom and the offices on the middle floor is over a year old. So it would be really interesting to see what the GDV on that is going to be. And the fact that you've only having, even with the old GDV plan, that it only leaves £5,000 in the deal, that's brilliant that you'll actually be able to recoup that. And I think if an investor can see the value in what you're doing and is able to, I know that sometimes that can be quite a scary thing to start off with, but actually if they have the courage to go there to that direction, it's actually really worth it. The BRR model is a great one to have. And there is a lot of demand for commercial to residential. with the garages that you just showed me, the mechanical things, I think, as you mentioned, with the planning having lapsed, the fact that it had already been approved is a bit of a win in your favour. I would love to for you to keep us posted on that, to see how you get along, because that would be very interesting to see how you go with that, because that looks delightful from a development perspective.
Yeah, it'd be good. That's in a town. That's in actually a seaside town, quite about 40 minutes from where we live. So there's a lot of opportunities all over the county. I think people assume when we say we're in Devon, they just assume holiday lets and stuff like that. Now, there is a big demand for that, obviously, but there's an even larger demand for bog standard buy-to-let flats and houses.
Yeah, and I think, buy-to-let is the bread and butter, really, isn't it, of our industry. It's not to, turn our nose up against it, because it's good at what it does. Thomas, I'd just like to bring you in on that, if that's okay, with regard to, by the way, I cannot believe with the first project that you actually took on board yourselves, the quality of standard of living that at that time the landlord was allowing their tenants to live in is shocking, with the collapsed ceiling, and it looked like there was a lot of mold in there in that project, Chris, before you took it.
Some of the other flats were probably worse. I just cherry picked a few pictures, really. It's really frustrating, because it gives a lot of landlords a real bad reputation, really. When they see like that, they assume all landlords are the same, which is obviously not the case.
And it's not the case. And I think both yours and Sheena's images, when you've refurbed the properties, actually shows the potential. And it's not that it costs an absolute fortune. Sometimes it is just, a simple kitchen, bathroom, and a lick of paint can actually make it feel a lot more inviting to live in. So I'd like to thank our sourcing agents who are actually creating those opportunities for our investors and for the people that need to rent out there. Thomas, just to call you back in on this, I mean, is there anything that you would advise with regards to any of those projects that Chris has just gone through from a surveyor's perspective?
What we probably do, I mean, the pre-development valuation would probably be most useful to an investor, which I'm sure Chris will agree with. Obviously, he's done his background research himself, I'm assuming, with his valuations and his GDVs. So that's where we come in, really. We can do a pre-development valuation. We would need those detailed plans that Chris shown us at the end there after the slideshow. So we write up a report on what we value the property at now, and then providing that the work that is completed and the work that's planned is carried out to a good specification, to a good standard, we can provide, as I mentioned, a pre-development valuation.
Brilliant, perfect, and I think it's well worth having that. I think have you got a final tip, an overall tip, Thomas, that you could give investors with regards to, if it could be one tip for an investor regarding surveys, what would it be?
Always get one. We do see when a report comes back with major issue, for example, subsidence or major damp issue, the horrible ones, the really detrimental defects. A lot of the time, sometimes the investor or the purchaser, they're not surprised. You think, I thought that myself. But a lot of the time, it can also come back. We'll give them the report, they'll phone us up and they'll be like, are you serious? Like, we didn't realise, that the property had this detrimental issue, and it's going to cost us £5,000 or £10,000, whatever it may be, to rectify it. And if they were, they were in their minds safe with the property, but just to be on the safe side, they got a survey. Now, when we've come back and advised them of this, defect where it's going to cost them, for example, he might need a new roof, and they didn't think they needed a new roof. Now that's going to be, it's what we call a showstopper sometimes, where we'll put the brakes on the whole deal. And as I mentioned earlier, that's not what we're here to do. We don't want to be. We don't want deals to be falling through. That's not what we're about. We want to be helping deals come over the line, but we are at the end of the day there to protect the buyer.
Yeah, Perfect, brilliant. Thank you for that. And it is important. And sometimes, as you mentioned, because we don't tend to cost in the cost of a roof, it can be the deal stopper. I can appreciate that. Chris, is there anything you'd like to encourage, or even maybe give a bit of an insight with regards to the areas that you actually source within and develop within? Because as you mentioned, when we say Devon and Cornwall, we all think holiday, you know, let's go to the beach, let's holiday lets and things like that. But actually, what else can they, if an investor was to invest in that location, you know, what's the demand for schools as an example, or you know, from an aspect of working, what's employment rates like there? Are they healthy? These aspects that would really serve well in your locations that you work with?
Yeah, so I'll use Oakhampton as an example here. So the population in this town has tripled in the last 10 years due to massive developments from the big players like Redrow, Persimmon, Taylor Wimpey, etc., etc. Also, last year, the government pledged to spend, I think they spent nearly 50 million in reinstating the rail line from Oakhampton to nearby Exeter. So that reopened in November 2021. Incidentally, it's about 100 yards up the road from our flats that I was showing you just now. So that was another massive tick for that particular project, because you can literally just stroll up to the train station and grab a train to nearby Exeter. So it's becoming a real commuter town. And that leads me on to Exeter in itself. So Exeter is a really, really vibrant city. Huge things going on there. You've got you've got the rugby club. The rugby team were Premiership champions, so that's really put them on the map from a sporting point of view. And there's a huge amount of investment going on out in that part of the city. You've got the Met Office there. They're a huge employer. You've got the Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital, again, huge employer. I could sit here for days talking about like IKEA's up there, recently opened, and so on and so forth. And Exeter's got a lot going for it because the university, I believe, is in the top 10 of the country and has been for best part of a decade now. And there's significant investment always going into that university to really keep it up. So in Exeter itself, student lets is a huge thing. And student HMOs is also a really, really big investment opportunity in Exeter. And with those big player employers that I just mentioned, there's also a massive market there for young professionals. And so that's what we're looking to get into once we've finished our current projects here in Oakhampton. But in the same breath, we're still going to focus on where we are because of the newly opened rail link and the fact that there is a huge demand for property here in Oakhampton. And all the sort of towns within a 10-mile radius of Exeter, you frankly can't go wrong because there's good road links into Exeter, which is where a lot of people commute to. And then once you're at Exeter, you're on the motorway to get to just about anywhere in the country. And the major train stations there, you can get to London in just over 2 hours. So it's really got a lot going for it. And us in Oakhampton, we're pretty much 45 minutes from either coastline. So it's nice if you want to get away. And Exeter's, 15 minutes from South Devon coast. So there's a lot of boxes being ticked down in this area.
Yeah, that sounds like it's very, very well connected, doesn't it? The way that you've just described it sounds like it's very, very well connected. And I thank you for that, because I think it's important that, especially when we don't live in a particular country, we may not know the depth of what's going on in the location. I mean, I do live in the country and I didn't know that. So I think it's more difficult when we're overseas and we're not really sure about what's going on. And I think that's why it's really important to reach out to our sourcing agents within the platform. And really, if you like what you've seen today, reach out to them and just have a conversation with them. Actually, with regards to that, I'm going to share my screen and show you how to have a conversation with them. It's very simple. So literally, I'll go through each one. So this is Sheena's landing page within our platform. So as you can see, you've got their Almus Investments, and this is her profile, and these are her pictures here. And it's very easy. If you wanted to contact Sheena regarding either property, you literally just contact the agent, you click this button, I do apologise, my internet is a little bit slow. And it'll take you to that one. And then you've either got the live chat now button here that's just popped up at the bottom of the page, or you can click on here, which will take you back to her profile, and you can have a comment. You can actually start a conversation with her. The reason that there you go, it's the live chat button here. Okay, so I'm going to press this. Sheena, apologies, because this will say that I'm starting a conversation, but it's just to show the investors how to start that with you. So click the proceed, and then it will take you into a direct conversation with Sheena. And now you can actually chat to Sheena with regards to anything. So that was mine and Sheena's conversation when we were testing the app. This is WSM, so this is Chris and Ed here. With theirs, you've got Ed here and Chris here. Well, you've already seen Chris on the videos, that's Ed there. And then Chris and Ed don't have any live properties here at the moment currently, because of, as they said, they're in the process of securing one. But again, you can still have that live conversation, that direct conversation with them. And again, there you can see you're now engaged with a direct conversation, and you can see Chris's name here. And so that's how you would connect with each of them. And then with regards to Thomas, you would be able to, the investors will be able to find Thomas via Coseyhomes on their power team. And exactly the same thing, you would click the live chat button. Just to let you know kindly that the live chat button isn't where we pop up at any time during the day and have a live chat. It just does give us an email alert to contact yourselves back. And so again, apologies, Thomas, but this will take you into conversation with Thomas there. So it's a very simple process once you're in the platform. And in order to register to the platform for our investors live and those that are watching on the replay, literally very easily go to sourcinginvestments.co.uk/investor-registration/ and you'll be able to register there. And then you'll be able to contact either Sheena, Chris, or Thomas via the links that I've shared in the chat box today. If you have any questions, please do email them to myself, bonnie@sourcinginvestments.co.uk, or admin@sourcinginvestments.co.uk. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody that's attended today. I really do thank you for your time, the knowledge that you've passed on, and everything that you've shared with us. And I look forward to hearing how you get on with your projects. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Thomas. And thank you, Sheena.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.